Hello and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guest on this next interview. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has traveled to Vilnius as concern grows over a series of hybrid threats targeting the Baltic states, including drone incursions, GPS interferences, and increasingly aggressive rhetoric from Moscow. Brussels is now promising new investments in border security and air defense, while Baltic leaders warn that what is happening on NATO's eastern flank could soon affect the rest of Europe. Joining us today on TVP World to discuss the situation is Marius Matijošaitis, former member of the Lithuanian Parliament. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So, kicking things off with a visit, Ursula von der Leyen is in Vilnius to send a strong political message. What is Brussels trying to signal to Moscow and to the Baltic states themselves?
I think it is very timely and logical moment for the President of the European Commission to arrive to Vilnius and have a conversation with three presidents, actually, the President of the Lithuanian Republic, also Latvia and Estonia, also with the Commissioner for the Airspace and Defense, Kubilius, that I have seen also joining the conversations. And so this is timely because we are basically 1 week after this unprecedented hybrid, let's say, attack where Lithuanian people in some areas had to go to the shelters and hide and wait for the moment until it was signaled that it is safe to continue living as normal, because we had drones. Usually there are Ukrainian drones attacking Russian territory coming from Ukraine to the north, but then they are redirected by Russia, and it is not yet clear whether all of the drones has been Ukrainian, because not all of the drones has been found, but usually this is the way it goes. And it is very important that Ursula von der Leyen mentioned that this redirection to the NATO and European Union territory, closer territory, Baltic states, is a very conscious hybrid strategic attack on committed by Russia.
Right, and speaking of these hybrid threats, the Baltic leaders are arguing that these drone incursions, GPS jamming, airspace violations should not be looked at as isolated incidents, but more part of a coordinated Russian strategy. How serious is the current hybrid threat environment?
I would say it is very serious, because we have not seen such occurrences, such events during the last 4 years since the Russia has started its large-scale invasion to Ukraine. So we are turning into a new, reality right now with military type of drones flying. Therefore, it is a very good signal as well for not only for Lithuania, but all of the countries, first of all, on the eastern border of the European Union, to take this air defense, anti-missile systems and critical infrastructure very seriously. And the way Ursula von der Leyen has assured that the Baltic states will get 20 billion euros to increase these aspects, such as air defense and anti-drone systems, I think it is very important to take it very seriously right now. If we didn't take it seriously like during the last 4 years, because as the President of the European Commission mentioned, now it is Lithuania, Latvia, but then it could be other states in the near future. So we have to take it very seriously right now.
All right, we want to expand on that topic of mentioning how to take it seriously. Now, do you think that all these actions should be seen as a direct security threat that is comparable to conventional military pressure? And if so, how should Europe respond?
Well, technically, it is not comparable to conventional military warfare. But as many prominent decision makers are mentioning, I believe it was also the Estonian partners that mentioned that we are not in the war, but we are not in the peace as well. So at the moment, we are somewhere in the middle, and Russia is very well known for trying these hybrid methods for a long time. As we remember, this green people walking into this peninsula of Crimea and initiating the so-called referendum. This was one of the most the most vivid examples of this hybrid warfare, that it changed the landscape, changed the map of Europe already. So thankfully, we are not seeing anything on such a scale, because we are able to defend in the last several years ourselves, such as this hybrid warfare of the migrants in Poland and Lithuania, Latvia, and borders. And now we see a new method, so of trying to push the buttons and trying to check how our systems work, how our politicians and military personnel, how do we react? I think it's these hybrid methods for Russia works as a test, I believe, in most cases, to test not only our systems but our political will to defend ourselves. And that's just another example why we should take it very, very seriously.
All right, like you mentioned, a lot of European countries are seeing themselves not in a state of war, neither in a space of peace, which is kind of a limbo here. And this is exactly where Russia is operating with this hybrid actions against various Baltic countries. And you also mentioned how a political will is very important to counteract these measures. But do you think that NATO have sufficient mechanism and are prepared for this new form of hybrid threats, be it defensive measures or any way that they can deter Russia from taking further actions?
I have no doubts that when it comes to a conventional warfare, NATO is many times stronger comparing to Russia. But when it comes to hybrid methods, we are, I would be bold enough to say that we are too slow, because Russia, KGB mentality of Putin himself and his surroundings, the people that surround him, they are very, very intelligent on the way they find this niche ways to provoke, to test, to challenge NATO countries. And that's, the methods that somewhere are between the lines. They're not, NATO sometimes doesn't have legal ways to respond. There's no Article 5 to be initiated because there's no signs of a conventional attack. And that this is what it makes it very difficult. But I know that there's a lot of discussions in many ways in NATO headquarters and among the member states that are searching for the ways to be much more rapid, much more quicker to respond to all kinds of threats, including hybrid and creative methods to try us.
All right, last but not least, the military sources have told one of our TVP World correspondent that the United States has been briefing European allies on plans to reduce deep strike capabilities in Europe. Now, if that were to be true, how concerned are countries in NATO's eastern flank right now?
I would say that this, if this happens, this would be even more important than removing, for example, 5,000 soldiers from Germany, or not increasing the numbers in Poland or Baltic states, because the equipment, let's say, the aircrafts that the U.S. has are unique and different and much more powerful. But I would say that this is just another mean of Donald Trump administration to give a signal for European NATO allies that the European side has to step up. Also, when it comes to defense industry, to produce more of what we need to also prepare our defense and deterrence plans in much greater coordination between the European partners, because there's many more hotspots in the global arena right now. This is the Middle East, and also the unsure situation in the Pacific. So I see it as as a signal for the U.S. to tell Europeans they have to step up, and they are just relocating their resources right now where it is much more needed right now, because as we see, Ukrainians are pushing Russia forward, and I believe that this strategists in the US are thinking that Russia's aggression in Europe is not so probable in the near future anymore, and that's why they're relocating the most powerful resources to Middle East and Pacific.
All right, so we'll have to see how these hybrid threats will continue to press the Baltic countries. But in the meantime, thank you so much for your input and insight. Really appreciate it, and thanks for being with us on TVP World.
Yeah.
And thank you for tuning into this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.